Alright, good morning. We're going to do a little tropical update and possibly a winter update, but I was going to do a tropical update yesterday, but slipped past my mind. Focused on the winter yesterday. We looked at a couple models, including the Canadian and CFSV2. So, current tropical look, we have Hurricane Imelda, which is past Bermuda, the core, so that to me says it was a direct hit. Tropical storm conditions are expected to continue for a few more hours. So, again, nothing major, but threat of heavy rainfall in Bermuda is diminished. So, the storm is pretty much over. In terms of the worst of it, swells and high surf from Imelda are expected to produce dangerous rip currents, which is again typical because it's still around the vicinity of Bermuda, and I'm trying to see what the wind speeds are for this, but I can't, it's too small. But if I can find that, I will let you know. Let's take a look at our waves off Africa. Here's a tropical wave expected to move off the coast of Africa over the next day or two. Then this wave is forecasted to interact with another disturbance and some slow development with the feature. It has a very low chance of developing, at least as of now, 20% chance in the next 7 days. Let's take a look at this Florida system. I'm not too concerned about this. It doesn't look like it has much to work with in terms of warm waters. 10% chance of developing within the next 2 to 7 days. Not really concerned about the Atlantic overall, at least as of now. Again, it's October, hurricane season is peaking right now. On the other hand, in the Pacific, at least the Eastern Pacific, things are revving up. We do have an active MJO signal, a lot of energy there. We have Tropical Storm Octave, 60 miles per hour, sustained 65 miles per hour, sustained winds. Let's take a look at this one. It's going to strengthen and then recurve. Doesn't look too organized in terms of major development, so it's actually going to kind of fade out into a tropical storm by Monday and really just kind of not move anywhere, just going to kind of sit over one area. We have a disturbance here in the Eastern Pacific. This has a 90% chance of developing. Let's look at the satellite. Again, nothing really extensive, but again, we have two big systems here. They're going to pile up ace points, nothing more than that. In other words, they're going to make a lot of energy over the open waters. Probably not going to affect the land masses of west coast of Mexico, etc. Central Pacific is quiet. And again, another look at the Atlantic Ocean. Imelda is, you can even see the wind shear kind of shunting the top clouds off of the system into the North Atlantic. See all those clouds that are extending into the North Atlantic Ocean. That's a sign that wind shear is getting to it, and that happens when a warm system goes into cold air. The top of the system will get shunted off by the cold air, and it'll basically weaken the system. So let's take a look at our 2-week outlook off the GFS model and see what it has for this. So let's take a look at that. Let's get to it, and here we go. So this is starting from right here today at October 2nd. So we're going to kind of loop this somewhat quickly so we can get the overall picture. I'm going to skim through it. So yeah, nothing major. You know, GFS is picking up on a hurricane in the Western Atlantic. It's been doing that a lot. Now, this would be a concern for me typically, that it has a 987 millibar low pressure going to the northeast, but seeing as how we've already had like 2 to 4 storms that have just been fish storms and not hit the East Coast, I'm not too worried about that. I'm going off of the general pattern for this has been, which is they come close to the East Coast, but they still recurve out to sea. So other than that, nothing much of any extreme weather situations in the USA. So just your typical cold front, warm front scenario. And that's that. Let's take a look at our 8 to 14 day temperature outlook off of NOAA. You're going to see our average temperatures for the next 6 to 14 days. So here's days 6 through 10. Above average for Southern Gulf. Also above average for precip. So days 6 through 10. So this would be October 7th through 11th. Also notice, this is interesting, in Alaska there's above average precip. Why? Probably because the La Nina is starting to come on. You're starting to get the effects of that, which tends to favor an Alaskan active jet stream. So let's take a look at days 8 through 14. Again, much of the same. So let's take a look at Jamstack's not out yet. We're going to take a look at NOAA's seasonal outlook. Let's take a look at that going through December through February, and I want to know when this was issued because doesn't say when it was issued, but just going off this, it has a cold look from the northwest and neutral for the central and eastern part of the USA. I mean, this is conservative. It's not going too extreme in either direction, which is sensible for NOAA to forecast because, you know, we're not having any major computer models that are, you know, with the ensemble, in other words, with every single model forecasting a very cold winter. It's not the case this winter as it has been in some winters maybe 10 years ago, but this is a good forecast, I think, on their part, not going too much on either end of the extreme warm or cold. Taking a look at February, now this gets a little bit interesting. February through April, we see a lot of cold there in the northern plains. So it does get a little bit colder, at least a colder look to it. So let's take a look at March through May, and again, nothing major there. October through December has a warm look to much of the country, especially the southwest. Let's see November through January. So again, nothing special there. I do want to take a look lastly at our CFS V2 model off weatherbell.com, and let's take a look at that because that comes out daily. I always enjoy looking at this model since it comes out daily. And December is actually warmer in this run, but I'm not too concerned about that. It's another stray. The overall trend is cold. But look at this. January comes back full force with the cold air. That's interesting because you got cold air up in the northeast, all the way in the Great Lakes, Northern Plains. This is a very cold look, and that's as far as it goes. Let's take a look at our precip. Let's take a look at our monthly precip. Here's December, again, warm month. January is